Hello, I'm Dishan Karbanda.
And I'm Ron Batu, and welcome back to our ninth episode of Weekly Dose of High School, where we'll be guiding you through the life of a high school student while speaking to knowledgeable people in the industry.
Today we are here again with Saarth Shah, an incoming sophomore at UC San Diego, where he'll be studying data science. In the previous episode, we heard Sir talk about UC San Diego's admission criteria and the overall UC system. So if you haven't heard that episode, make sure to check out that one first. But in today's episode, we'll be hearing Sir talk about his overall life outside of school and his passion and future endeavors for CS.
Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. So, start. Do you have any tips for one to make their college app more interesting? For example, I was thinking about having an art supplement. What do you think?
I think yeah. I mean, if you have something like an art supplement, that definitely makes it more interesting. I was trying to like put in my art supplement, but it didn't work out because most of my stuff was in graphic design and digital art, which a lot of the schools did not want in their art supplements. They wanted more of like like I think more like hard arts, like
Mhm.
dance, music, stuff like that. But I think art supplement is definitely a great idea of like making your app more interesting. One thing which I would definitely advise is like stand out for like what is expected from your demographic. Like for me, I was like a CS guy applying as an international Indian student with as a male, so I was like in the worst possible bracket for getting into CS. So I think I should have taken an approach which made me different than most other CS applicants, but I think that is something which I missed out on. So to make an app more interesting, I think you have to come out as someone who is like completely different from what is usually expected from that specific, a person who's applying for that specific major from that specific demographic. So I think that would definitely make you more interesting because I mean I can imagine these college admissions officers, they're just reading one application after the other, and let's say they're applying like all these people are like business majors from like a New York suburb, and they're all looking at these applications, and everyone is actually the same. They're all have same sort of work experience and stuff. It would get boring. But if you're like someone who's like complete outlier, either you like super well accomplished or like you're super different and your interests are very like a combination of multiple things or something. I mean, that would be really comparatively more interesting. I
Oh,
think yeah, use your essays to like target your essays, like make it more make it stand out from the crowd, I'd say.
okay. I have a follow-up question to my previous question. So, if you do, okay, so I'm planning to send 2D art as my art supplement. So, will that hurt my college application?
I don't think so. That would definitely not hurt you. I mean, so when I was applying, I my top choice was Stanford. So I was planning to send my art supplement to Stanford like 1 week after I submitted my application. And when I went through the requirements, I saw that they don't want like website design or the graphic design into like their arts portfolio, which is kind of a bummer because that's exactly what I had. But I don't think that would hurt you. I was it was just like it was something that I was doing to like make me a little bit more like stand out. But then I think you'll have to see what each school wants in their art supplement. If they're fine with like 2D art, then go for it. Then 100% apply with it. But sometimes these guys don't evaluate a specific sort of like an art application, because you don't have like someone to like score it and like evaluate it. So look into like if the school actually wants, and they have like guidelines there on the website. So just have a look at like for every school if they want that specific sort of art set that you have, and if they do, definitely go for it. It's just gonna help you out. There's no way why you should not apply for an art supplement.
Thank you, sir.
So, Sarth, you said it will probably help you out. It can't hurt you. But like recent or not recently, but like a couple of years back, College Hawaiian put out an article saying that if your art supplement is like average, it can actually hurt you. So like, what's your opinion on that?
That could be possible. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, what happens is that if you let's say if you have an art supplement and you that was like the most important thing for your application. You were like that was like your hook for your application, then maybe it can hurt you. But if you have a lot of other things going on for you and the art supplement is just a part of the overall profile, And even if it is not the best art supplement they've ever seen or it's kind of average, I don't think it will hurt you in that way. But yeah, if that's your only hook, then maybe, yeah, I mean, that will hurt you then for sure.
So like you mentioned hooks, like what other types of hooks are common?
Um, I think hook is essentially anything that makes you stand out from like other people. Like, what have you done or what makes you different? Like, why is your experience different from anyone else? For me, I think my hook was I was a community entrepreneur. I was trying to build something using my tech skills to solve problems in the community. So I think your hook can be, hey, I'm using this art form and I'm like so good at this that that could be a hook for you. So everyone has different hooks, something that makes them stand out from the rest of the people in the applicant pool. So yeah, I mean, if that is like if art is like the only hook, then something like you really like you say that like I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to put that into words, but if you're like trying to if you have a company, you have a flagship product that everyone knows that company from, that's your hook, right? Like for Meta, like people know it from like for like Facebook, right? Before like Instagram it came into existence. So that's their hook. That's like the main selling point. So what is your selling point? If your selling point is just art and you're not even good at it, then
that makes sense.
then it's gonna hurt you out.
Yeah.
But if your main selling point is something like that makes, but yeah, like your main selling point is whatever makes you different from like anyone else and why the customer should take you.
Got it. Okay. So, Sarth, now I'm gonna ask you like about like UC San Diego. So like it's getting more competitive every application year. They're getting too many applications and they have the same number of seats. Acceptance rates are going down. So like what tips would you give like to our audience like so they can maximize their chances of admission?
I definitely agree. It's getting more and more competitive. I remember seeing an article on our subreddit last week where we came down. I think our acceptance rate last year was somewhere around 30%. Now we're down to like 22%. And I'm assuming next year will probably be like below 20%. So it's like getting harder and harder. Like I think the pre-COVID world was very different where, colleges were like, for me, when I look at it, like I see they were those were the times that you can easily get into like a school. Now it's getting much and much harder. Like every single year, it's getting more and more selective. Um, so if you want to like maximize your chances of getting in, start early. I think that's something which I kind of regret not doing because when I was in high school, up till like my junior year, I was planning to study in India, but then I decided, hey, I want to go to the US because I was looking at all these opportunities. And I just wish I had started early because if I knew about how things work, I had started doing my research early on. Um, that would have definitely helped me out a lot more. So start early, try to maximize your grades, whatever you can, and try to build yourself some hooks, so that you can like stand out from like all the other applicants from your area and your demographic.
Right. And this test blind policy, test optional, is only making it like worse because now more
Yes.
people have like incentive to apply. Like before, when they saw the SAT cutoff, they're like, nah, I don't even have a chance. But now with test optional, they're like, oh, let's shoot my shot. So,
Yes, I actually agree with you on that one. I feel like test optional definitely made it harder for a lot of us. Um, if you have a great test score, it would change everything for you. For me personally, like I had like a kind of like it was like a good score, but not a very good score. I had like a 1490, which was below 1500, but it translates to like a 34 on the ACT. So it was like kind of good, but like not super good, specifically for the really selective CS schools and like really selective schools in general that apply to. But like at like a place like Berkeley or like UCLA, my SAT score would have been higher than average,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it would have given me a push, but it did not because I did not have that. So I probably would have gotten into Berkeley's Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, the College of Arts and Sciences one, but I couldn't because they did not look at my city score. And what happened was that I did not go to like an IB school in India. So a lot of people they accepted in my batch were from IB schools, and I was from like ISD school, which is like Indian something, but it's like an Indian education system. And it is like if you have a 44 or 45 on your IB or like a 43, admissions officers know what that means. But like for us, like our grades, it's like it's just from it's not even half of India uses that, even less than that, because there are different boards within India. So it's like super hard for like your academics to make sense to an admissions officer. So if you had like an SAT to support it, let's say if I had like put in my 1490 and they could see, hey, I have a 1490 along with my high school grades, my SAT was kind of like I was not super happy with it, but I think I had a decent score. Could have been better for me, but that would have helped me because 1490 would have been like, hey, I mean, he's good at academics.
Right.
So at least for like UCs, it would have given me a better shot. But yeah, I mean, with the lack of standardized testing, I think it definitely makes a little bit harder to get into colleges, specifically because a lot of people around me are applying with they are from like schools that have inflated GPAs and inflated grades.
Yeah.
So they're not like the best academically. But they did not just because they did not submit their SAT scores, they had a much higher chance and they got in. While you know, while someone like us who had like great scores and also had a decent SAT would have like also benefited from it. So I know people who got in with like who had like 1200s on their SAT and got into, like from Michigan, Berkeley, and all that places just
Dear.
because they had inflated GPAs. Yeah. So I mean, is that fair for us? Probably not. So I would say, yeah, definitely makes things hard, very hard actually, to like specifically stand out academically.
Okay, so Saarth, you just mentioned the 1200. So obviously you were on the report that. So what would you generally say? So like on Reddit or all these forums, like I've been researching, if you have a 1450, right, you can submit it above. If you're as an Asian male, if you're playing the CS, if you don't submit it, top colleges will like assume you like failed miserably. But in reality, you got like a 1500, 1510. That may be below certain like percentile. Like so for Stanford, for MIT, their 25th percentile is 1530. So would you recommend submitting a 1510 even though it's below their 20th percentile?
So I actually would now looking back at it, like I did not. So I submitted like my city at most places, except like I think I did not submit to Stanford, Princeton, Yale, and Carnegie. No, Carnegie I did. And to like the UC, which were test blind at that time. Funny thing is, like one of my really close friends, we had the same SAT score, same grades, and I sent my SAT score to Georgia Tech, and he did not. And he had like I had a 1490, he had a 1480, and he got into Georgia Tech, and I didn't, even though like our profiles were very similar. So it was kind of weird why that happened because I was waitlisted and he got in, but I would still send my city score because here's what happened when I applied to Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science. I don't know if you guys know, but it's like probably the best CS school in the world, and
top five.
their average city score is like a 1580.
Yeah.
And I actually sent in my 1490. And while I didn't get in, I was actually put on the priority waitlist. So even though I was like 90 points below their average SAT score. So I don't think, I think it does matter, but I don't think it is like the only thing that matters. So if you have a good enough SAT score, go for it, like submit it. But if you feel like it's if it's below, like I think the 25th or like 50th percentile, then I would be like, but you also look at like, does the school really want you to send your SAT score? Like you to send your SAT score? Because when I was filling my Carnegie Mellon application, I saw that these guys were like, I did not want to send my 1490 to a school that had like a 1580 average, right? Why would I? But when I was looking at this, they were like very clear that they want to see my SAT score if I've taken it. So it depends. Like if a school like, I know some schools like Caltech and CMU, they really want your SAT scores. If they do want it, then send it, whatever, because it would look bad if you don't have a score. But if school is like fine with it, they don't want you to send they're like fine with like being test optional, then go for it. I don't think like going test option hurts if you have excelled in all the other parts of your application.
So one final follow-up on that. What cues or like hints were you able to tell that Carnegie Mellon wanted your SAT score?
Yeah, because see, when I was filling my application and like where I had this thing, I actually first take down I don't want to send my SAT score. And these guys were like asking me all sort of different questions in the application. Why do you not want to send your SAT score? You have to explain like in like 3 paragraphs. I was like, it was very evident that these guys want to see my SAT scores. I was like, I'm gonna send it whatever. Yeah, that makes sense. But I know a lot of those. I know like a lot of those IVs. You don't care if you. I don't think it hurts you if you go test optional. it definitely helps you if you have a high SAT score, but I don't think it hurts you if you go test option to a lot of schools. So, if you applied, let's say, I don't think Stanford cares about SAT scores that much. I've heard like they're, I think, least, like you can get in with a 1490, 1480, 1470, very compared to like, getting into Carnegie Mellon for CS. So it's like you have to look at like what the average is and how much emphasis a school gives to that SAT score range. But you have to do that from like different sources, I think one really great piece of um like a place where I was able to know what school wants, like get a very clear idea of what like admission requirements are, is that there was this lawsuit that happened with Harvard once where you can get like their whole document where they can look at like how they grade like applicants. And I would really
Oh
suggest
yeah,
looking into that. That's like,
I saw
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's like a great resource. Look at like past applicants, what their scores were. Look at like the average. Look at what they want for a specific major if they admit by major. So look at all of that and then decide whether you should and you want to send your city score or not. But I would say anything above 1500, send it for sure. Like, it
Got
does
it.
not matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I have another question for you. So, as a college student, is it true that students are kicked out from the dorms after sophomore year and are expected to afford their own shelter?
Unfortunately, yes. I got
Okay.
kicked out after my freshman year. Um, because like, see, it
Oh, it's
depends. Like
after
if you go to
freshman
like a
year, not
private school,
sophomore. Okay.
yeah, it's after freshman year for me. Yeah. So it's like, it depends. So if you go to like a private school, I think a lot of those places have guaranteed 4 year housing. But let's say if you go to like one of the UCs, some places have like 2 years of guaranteed housing. Some places have 1 year of guaranteed housing. For me, at UCSD, I had like 1 year of guaranteed housing, and second year I was put on the wait list. I was fairly high on the wait list. I think I was like 35 or something, 25 or something overall. So I was almost guaranteed to get housing. I think second year also kind of works out, but then for me it was like I really wanted a single, or I wanted to be around. If I wanted to like have a roommate, I want to be around someone I really, I know previously, because it's much easier. Like I want to like spend my time with people, around people who relate with me or like share the same interests as me. So I was choosing, like I wanted to choose my own roommate. So I decided, hey, if these guys put me on a wait list anyways, and I can't choose my own roommate, because what happens with wait list is that you're given a spot, whatever is free. So you don't get to choose what you want. Like you don't get to choose your own roommate. So I was like, hey, I don't want that. So whatever. But I know a lot of people did get housing from on the wait list. But yeah, it was kind of a hassle second year for like to get on campus housing. So I think yes, it depends on what school you go to. But if you have like guaranteed housing for like 4 years, then yeah, you don't have to look for off campus housing. Um, but if you don't have guaranteed housing, then you might have to like move out of campus and get a place that you have to pay for their own new money. I don't know about anything about financial aid honestly, for like how it works for US students. But for me personally, I had to look for my own place and pay for my own money when I was going off campus.
Thanks, sir. So, I have another question for you. So, if a student who was planning to go down the med route mentioned that they like to do program for fun as a hobby, will that student be recognized by the college readers as quote unquote versatile?
I would say yes. Yeah, because you're doing something as for your own interest, which you like, which is not expected of you. But I would say for like, let's say if you're talking about programming, right? Like in med school, it's a very common option because there's so much potential, when it comes to the combination of CS and tech, like CS and med. Like, I mean, I'm a data science major, we have a track for med school here. So, but if it was something totally different, like not something which, actually, if I was in such a case where if I was interested in programming and I was also interested in going to med route, I would try to target my application or try to like shape my application in such a way where like I was talking about the intersection of different interests. That hey, I don't just want to study CS, but I want to study like mathematics or something. Like something very specific, because I think that would help you out a lot more. But yes, it would be considered versatile for sure, even if you don't want to go into that like professionally.
Okay. Thank you. So,
Okay.
I have another question for you. Sorry. So, when I searched the web for acceptance rates for different majors in biology, I can never find the results. In contrast, finding acceptance rates for CS majors for different colleges is found really easily. So do I have to subscribe to a college to find these results? Like, do you have a method to locate these acceptance rates?
Um, Depends. I don't think a lot of schools are actually given major specific acceptance rates. I know for sure UCSD does not give out major specific acceptance rates, but Berkeley does. So they have but I think they have a portal that you can look into. I don't remember exactly, but for a lot of those UCs, you can see major specific acceptance rates on that portal. But you might have to search for it. I don't remember, but I've seen that for like transfer applicants. So there are platforms like that where you can look at your major specific acceptance rate. But I know for sure UCSD does not give out major specific acceptance rate because again, you first get into the school and then you get into the major of your choice. So they don't like it's mostly the acceptance rate for the school and not like majors. But these classes are small. I know for sure like UCSD's data science and CS are like 150 per persons each as incoming freshmen. So I would assume the acceptance rates are very low, but I don't know how low they are. And I don't think there's any way you can actually know the major specific acceptance. But for some schools, you can actually find out like their department specific acceptance rates. I think you can find out like the acceptance rate for Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science and their engineering programs. Like I think those acceptance rates are very different. But for a lot of these liberal arts or like schools that are very broad, you might not be able to find like major specific acceptance rate.
Thanks, Saarth.
Okay, sorry. So, I'm not sure if you entirely know about this, but like, how different do you think like the California school systems is versus the UC school system, especially for computer science, the CSUs and the UCs?
Well, I'm not sure how different it is because I mean, I do know a few people at CSUs, but not too many. For getting into like, let's say, getting a great internship or a job, honestly, it does not matter what school you go to because you have to crack the coding interviews and stuff anyways. As long as you get past resume screening, it totally depends on how great of a test taker, like those online assessment tests that you get for like programming jobs. Um, it totally boils down to that. So I would say for CS, as long as you can get past the resume screening and you're a
Mhm.
great enough programmer, it does not matter what school you go in. But research, yes. I mean, you would have for sure more research opportunities at UCs than you would have at CSU because
Mhm.
UCs have, I think they have billions of dollars in research budget. So unless you want to go into like research CS, like, deep learning, some of those, like if you want to get into grad school or something, well, then yes, UCs would be much better places to study CS. But if you just want like to go for and work for a tech company, I think it's very doable from even a CSU or even like a community college, honestly. I mean, I don't know how hard it works a community college, but I mean, as long as you get past resume screening, you should
Okay, thank you. All right, Sarth. So I know you started like your own company, Social Co.
be.
So like, how's that been? Like, has it been busy or been challenging?
It has been probably the most life changing experience I've ever had. It's been so fun, like building something because, like, as I told you guys earlier in the interview, I've been
Mhm.
working in like the intersection of tech and communities previously, and when I came to like when I was in high school, I was like I've been programming since I was 10, so
Mhm.
I was kind of like felt out of place when I went to different high schools and like different places because I could not relate to people intellectually. But then I was able to find as I was about to graduate, like my co-founder, who and I relate like exactly the same, have the same interest. We have the potential to work on any project we want. So when we were like we just started like thinking about what we can do to solve. We initially started with like this idea of building an app that could help each other share like, social media handles. But then as we were doing user interviews and doing some research on like our potential users, we realized that that was not the problem. Like a lot of people have thousands of people connected to them on Instagram and LinkedIn, but how many people do they actually really know? Like
Right.
how many people they can count on to like build something or like reach out if they need help. So we decided, hey, we wanted to work in the space of meaningful connections, and we decided working on social, which is networking application where you put in like answer a bunch of questions, and we find you matches on campus with people who share like exactly the same interests. So let's say if you're really interested in quantitative finance, which is something which I was kind of interested in, If I go to like a CS club, everyone around me is trying to get into software engineering roles. If I go to like a business club or like a finance club, everyone is trying to get into like investment banking or private equity. So something like quantitative finance is like, or algorithmic trading is somewhere in between both those different interests. So it's like, we make it easier for you to find people who are interested in like intersection of multiple different interests that you might have and have the potential to collaborate with you. So basically help you find your own campus community, and not even just academic, but even for non-academic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's been fun, right? I mean, we have gotten a lot of opportunities. I've been like this summer I chose not to go for an internship. Like even though I did apply, but I did not take things seriously because I knew I was going to be working full time on my startup. And it's been great so far. We're almost like 7 days from launch, and we've almost got the app ready. And it's been a journey. Honestly, it's been super fun, and I've met a lot of really cool and interesting people through it. So yeah.
Got it. So how many people are on the team working with you?
We have around 15 people on the team, from different places. That's how I met people from CSUs. We have a lot of interns that we got from Berkeley because we were accepted to UC Berkeley's Cardiac Accelerator. Last, I think, a couple months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, we've been accepted for like different fellowships, like the Blackstone Launchpad Fellowship, and if we've essentially like connected with a lot of different incubator and accelerator programs through which we got access to a lot of people. And yeah, we have like 15 people in the team right now, like UX designers, UX researchers, data science people, software engineers, business and marketing people. So it's a huge team.
Mm-hmm. Good, very great. So, okay, after being like selected into college, do you think it's still necessary? Like, I know a lot of people do create these nonprofit organizations to help out people, but do you think it's necessary to continue to working on them? Because like half of them I've seen like they just drop dead after college apps.
Depends. I think a lot of people who do a lot of these activities do it solely to get into colleges. So when that happens, people drop out their previous activities when they get the desired results. They like decide, hey, what's the point of me working on this nonprofit anymore? So they drop out of it. Personally, I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I'm not a big fan of doing things that you're not passionate about, anyways. Like I would not start like doing something which I'm not passionate about, or like I would not continue after getting into college. Um, so I don't know if it's necessary for people to do that, but a lot of these activities, I mean, people do that just for getting into college, and
Yeah,
once they get in, even if they do it, like they would do it half-heartedly. So I don't know if you want to do something half-heartedly for people.
right.
So I don't think it's necessary, but I mean, I would not put up like a facade that I'm interested in something and then not do it once I get into colleges. Like for me, I was like a community-based entrepreneur when I started my nonprofit. I was able to help people out, but then COVID died down, and like you know people like things got much better because we got used to COVID, so there was no point of like nonprofit that we were building. We did
Mhm.
plan on like remaking it after like even like last month. We were planning to like recreate that whole website and like see if we can have some potential. But then I decided, hey, I want to work in the same space, communities and entrepreneurship and startup and technology. So I was like, that's when I started working on social. So I'm essentially working on the same space but with a different idea. But yeah, I mean, if I had completely dropped out of like this whole space, like communities and entrepreneurship, just because I got into college, I don't know, man. I would not do that, honestly.
Mhm.
It just sounds unfair, and like,
Right.
why would you do something you're not interested in ultimately?
So do you think like admission officers can see through people who start nonprofits just to boost their college apps?
I think they can. I don't know. I hope they do. I hope they do see through it. But I don't know if they do actually, because I mean, see, every other person has a nonprofit or the other has worked on something like that. That's
Right.
why I emphasize more personal projects than nonprofits or like joining an internship, because a lot of people actually bullshit around with like internships and nonprofits. Just make up fake stuff, or like they work at a small company, or they make like their own small nonprofit. It does not. A lot of people try to bullshit a lot with these things, and I feel like admissions officers can definitely read through it. I mean, because if every other person has a nonprofit, I mean, if I was reading an application, I would be like, hey, yeah, I can see that this guy is also one of those,
Mhm.
Unless you've brought like very significant impact, if you've done something like fully out of ordinary.
Mhm.
So
But
that's
like,
why I feel like, yeah, non-profit's probably not the best thing, like, honestly.
so like a lot of time people also inflate their numbers. So
Yeah, people
how
do that.
do
I mean,
how do they get caught?
I don't think anyone gets caught for inflating numbers, honestly, because nobody does background checks, honestly. Um, I think they only like background check a random portion of the class. So you have to be, so not everyone gets checked, but some people do. But I would not take that risk.
All right.
Um, I think it's fine to inflate numbers very small, like 5 or 10%. But if you do something like you should make it 3 times, well, then, yeah, I mean, that's not something you should be doing. Right.
Mhm.
But I know a lot of people do inflate numbers. I would personally not do that. I'm a little bit like, hey, if it's like 45, I'll make it 50. Yeah, I mean, that would be okay.
All
But
right.
like, if you feel like you can get to that number by the time your admission acceptance comes around, right? Like, let's say if I was like, hey, I mean, if I was, let's say when I was creating my own when I had my non-profit, if I had like 6,500 viewers, I could potentially inflate that to 7,000, because I know like once I get into colleges, that's 6,500 would be 7,000 for sure.
Mhm.
So if you feel confident, then yes, but I would still not advise for it. I mean, I don't think it's a great idea to inflate or like create a facade that you might not actually be in real life.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And then my second last question for you is, you and I used to work both at Educately. How did you like mention that in your college apps?
Can you repeat that question again? I'm really
Yes.
sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
get that.
no. So like you and I used to work both in Educately a couple years ago. So how did you portray that in your college apps, in your essays and extracurriculars?
I think I didn't. I actually put it towards the bottom of the list because it was not a project that we were able to complete. It was something which kind of died down.
Mm-hmm.
But I did put in work for it. Like, I think I did make the website and the learning management system for it when we were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I put that hey, I mean, it was a nonprofit that we were trying to create, and I created like an LMS for it and all of that stuff. So I did put all of that, but because it was a project that I was not like able to finish or had like a significant impact with, or like numbers to tell the story,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I kind of put it towards the bottom of the list. So if you have like a project like this that did not like generate any impact, then put it towards the bottom, because impact is like the most important thing. If you can like bring an impact, that's like, I think that's a great hope.
Got it. Okay, and then my final question for you is like a bit related to your personal life. So like when you're not studying or researching, what do you do to like essentially relieve some stress? Is it to go on vacations, or like I know you like playing golf, or do you like just watch movies with your friends?
I mean, yeah, I play golf a lot. I think you're right on that one. I go to the gym a lot. Like, I work out very actively. Been really involved in like becoming physically, like maxing out my physical capabilities recently. That's been something which I've been really enjoying. And I do spend a lot of my time with my friends at college. I'm like, either I'm trying to network and like go to all these events, like, because I'm trying to become an entrepreneur, and that's what I'm like really passionate about. And I feel like 10 years down the line or like 15 years down the line, that's like the ultimate goal that I want to achieve. So I'm trying to actively network and try to meet people, go to these events because I enjoy them, and then I can just talk to people. I don't have to study for it. I don't have to research for it. I just go and talk to people and just put myself out there. And I also make friends through this, and I also spend a lot of time with my friends. We have like in college, like every 2 days, every 3 days, all for friends, we sit down for dinner together and just talk about our life and just have fun and just laugh at random stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I do when I'm not studying.
So a couple of days or weeks ago, I saw that you're like on vacation in India. So like, have you come back now?
Yes, I am back. It was just like a short, I think 2 or 3 day vacation that I had with my parents. I am planning to we're planning another vacation because I have like the 3 months summer vacation. I've been like mostly working on my on like social, and like I'm also doing some research at Stanford right now, so I'm working on that as well. So it's basically been just a lot of studying and a lot of hard work. But I do play a lot of golf every single day. Like, I go and golf every single day, and I go to the gym every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had a 3 month vacation, I needed to go out of the city, so we decided to go on a small short vacation. It was kind of fun, just going we went to like a jungle, and just with the hopes of looking at animals. Unfortunately, that national park was closed, but it was fun. It was fun. It was like a kind of like a relaxing experience from like the life that I usually live.
Got it. Thank you.
Well, that's it for today for episode 9 of Weekly Dose of High School. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to Saarth speak about his passion for computer science and how he leveraged that into the college admission process.
Also, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, or even YouTube. We're on all those platforms and we upload weekly episodes, so make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. Until then, take it easy, guys.